abathola benzaka abantwana balendawo abantu abazewe kakuza lo mguba intani ngayathethwayo abona namadoda yavuma yabuya ndivela madoda ayikhondo zingwe.
Thank you very much. We can continue to stand and observe a moment of silence for a minute. Thank you. We can take our seats. I will now afford the media to take photos for about 2 minutes or so. Media, you are allowed to take photos. Come in. Thank you. I would like to announce to this August gathering that this is the first sitting of the 5th National House of Traditional Leaders convened in terms of Section 8, subsection 1A of the National House of Traditional Leaders Act of 2009, that is Act number 22 of 2009, which states that, I quote, "The president or a person designated by him or her must address the annual official opening of the House. This sitting is therefore convened for that purpose only and nothing else." Let me now take this opportunity, distinguished guests, and greet you, and also welcome you to this important gathering. I would like to welcome the first citizen of our country, Honorable President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency, Mr. MC Ramaphosa. Mr. President, I wish to welcome you for the first time to this House after you made a call that we must all lend a hand in changing the lives of these poor communities that we are living with in rural areas and also in South Africa as a whole. And I'm also extending an invitation, President, that beyond today, you can visit the House at any time. And we also want to be on speed dial with you, President, so that we can address issues that are affecting our communities. So you can address any issue that you'd want to address with us when your schedule permits you, Mr. President. So this is your house. At any given time, you are most welcome. Honorable President, please allow me to humble myself as I welcome His Majesties that are here with us. This is their house. This house belongs to them. We are senior traditional leaders because of them and the people that we lead. The Majesties that are in this house, we are blessed by your presence. Di Kgoshi Tjaka, El Kgoshi Kgolo, Ingwenyama, I'm seeing Bokhosi Khulu, Bothobela, Mphephu, Kgoshi Kgolo ya Bapedi, Kgoshi KK Sekhukhune, Hlabirwa, ikumkanikazi wa Makgakgabe, ikumkazi Noloyiso Sandile, Noloyiso, baemedi ba Bakwena, ba Mopedi, re a le amogela. Having said that, I will now proceed to welcome the following distinguished guests in our midst. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Baleka Mbete, Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Honorable Thandi Modise, Modula Stulo Wantlu ya Dikgosi ya Botswana, Kgosi Gaborone and your delegation. The Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance, we don't have a minister yet. The Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Honorable Des, Honorable Nell. Yeah, it's very difficult. Press changes were only done last night, and so we're still trying to grapple with the idea of the new dawn that is before us. I don't see, oh yes, I see Nkosi, particularly Olomisa, who's the Deputy Minister amongst us, Wamgelegile Ndabezitha, the President of Contralesa, the leadership of Contralesa that is here, Inkosi, our veteran, Umntwana Kapindangene, Inkosi MG Buthelezi, who is the leader of the IFP and a member of parliament, chairperson of the Independent Commission of Remuneration of Public Office Bearers, Judge CJ Musi, deputy chairperson of the National House, my honorable Nkosikazi Mhlauli, members of parliament, former chairpersons of the House of Traditional Leader, Khoshi Suping, Khoshiak, Lekhosi Maubane. This is the new house president I've just taken over after Khosi Maubane. Members of the portfolio and select committees present, members of the National House of Traditional Leaders, and their beautiful spouses that are in here, chairpersons of provincial houses of traditional leaders, your deputies and executive committees members, all deputy chairpersons of provincial houses of traditional leaders, the deputy president of Contralesa, and the executive of Contralesa, the chairperson of the National Cohesion Council, Mr. Cyril Lefleur, heads of representatives of political parties present, the Director General of the department, Mr. Dipofa, Director General in the Presidency, Dr. Lubisi, heads of department from COCTA in provinces. We also have in our midst heads of representatives of Chapter 9 institutions, representatives from business, representatives of faith-based organizations and traditional healers, officials, ladies and gentlemen, you are warmly welcomed to this August House. Your presence is appreciated indeed. Honorable President, may I have the honor of inviting you to the podium. It is time for you to usher in the new dawn in this house. Distinguished guests, please join me in welcoming His Excellency the President to deliver his annual address to the sitting of the House. We can all stand up. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Majesties, traditional leaders of our people, traditional leaders from the SADC region who have honored us with their presence here, Chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders, Nkosi Mahlangu, and Deputy Chairperson of the House of Traditional Leaders, and former Chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders, Khosi Maubane, Speaker of the National Assembly, Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Chairpersons of the Provincial Houses of Traditional Leaders and all traditional leaders, President of Contralesa, Khosi Mokoena, Chairperson of the Khoisan Council, Mr. Cyril Lefleur, leaders of the political parties, chairpersons of Chapter 9 institutions, directors general and senior government officials, esteemed guests and ladies and gentlemen and members of the media as well. I greet you this morning on behalf of the government of the Republic of South Africa. It is an honor and a joy to address the opening of the National House of Traditional Leaders. The institution of traditional leadership in our country is the bedrock of South Africa's constitutional democracy. As we drafted our constitution, we were acutely aware that one of the institutions that we needed to embed in our constitution was the institution of traditional leadership. And we sought, as we drafted the constitution, to ensure that we safeguard this institution that has been not only the pillar and the bedrock of our people's traditions and lives, but we knew that we needed to make sure that it becomes part and parcel of the new democracy that we were crafting. This institution remains a vital resource in the hands of our people to repair the social fabric that colonialism and apartheid sought to destroy. It remains a potent instrument bequeathed to us by our ancestors, our forebears, to achieve accelerated, inclusive, and social and economic development, to best serve the interests of the most vulnerable of our citizens, requires an understanding that traditional authority exists not only for its own sake, but it exists to improve the lives of our people. It requires that we affirm and support the historical and contemporary interdependence between our kings, our queens, and chiefs, and the people that they lead. This relationship of mutual interdependence between the ruler and the ruled is captured in the ancient saying, Inkosi, yinkosi ngabantu. Khosi ndi khosi ngabantu. Khosi ki khosi kabantu. This means that for traditional authority and government not to become despotic or tyrannical, the legitimacy and authority must be derived from satisfying the aspirations of those who are governed. To succeed, we look to traditional leaders to be active defenders, active promoters of democracy, and that they should also be agents of inclusive development. We look to them to be attentive and responsive to the cries of abused women, young people who are losing hope because of lack of training and work opportunities, and elderly citizens who live in constant fear of violent criminals. We look to this House to work with government and other social partners to build a capable developmental state that will deliver the basic necessities of life to our people, such as clean water, sanitation, clinics, tarred roads, especially to those who live in our most remote rural villages. We look to traditional leaders to mobilize our communities in the fight against poverty, inequality, unemployment, disease, and illiteracy. This is the task that we believe our traditional leaders are best suited to execute, because they are the ones who are closest to our people on the ground, in the villages, and in all other areas where our people live. Like traditional leaders of days gone by, we look to traditional leaders to take a lead also in promoting education, to promoting industry and commerce in the communities where our people are. They should be the real activists in making sure that there is development in their areas. We look to you to resist any attempts to alienate you from the very people on whose behalf you lead. Where there are attempts to have you alienated and separated from our people, we will help you and join you in resisting those attempts. We look to you to exemplify a courageous and patriotic leadership that is motivated and driven solely by the ideal of a better life for all our people. Because our people still yearn for justice, and because our people still yearn for peace and fulfillment, we need servant leaders, leaders who see themselves as the servant of our people, like Inkosi uJongintaba Dalindyebo, like Inkosi uNelson Mandela, like Inkosi uAlbert Luthuli. Those are the leaders who remain heroes in the hearts and the minds of our people, because they distinguished themselves as true servants of our people, people who were prepared to sacrifice all as traditional leaders so that our people can be free and begin to have a life that is better. They were among our proud and visionary leaders who were ready indeed to sacrifice their birthright, their titles, and comfort to advance the struggle against racial division and indignity. Drawing on their example, we are certain the leadership of Ubukhosi at national and provincial level is capable and ready to lend a hand to rebuild our nation. In this regard, we wish to congratulate Inkosi Sipho Mahlangu for his election as the chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders. We applaud you and we congratulate you, and we stand ready to help you, to support you, and to work with you at all times. We are the ones who will put you on speed dial to make sure. We wish you well and the newly inaugurated National House of Traditional Leaders all the wisdom and the success as they champion the institution of traditional leadership and the well-being of our people. We also congratulate the leaders who have been elected to lead the various provincial houses of traditional leaders. Those leaders continue to make traditional leadership in our country vibrant, alive, and relevant, and ready to serve our people. As I have taken time to go around the country to meet a number of you, and as I will take time to go around the country to continue on this pilgrimage of meeting a number of you we have not met yet, we will make sure that as we interact with you, we reinforce and strengthen your position, your status, your role, so that you can continue with an excellent work of serving our people. We will continue to ensure that our Constitution and the laws passed by our people remain effective in supporting and adopting this institution to better serve all our citizens. Chairperson, this year marks the dawn of a new era of hope, a servant leadership, and of accelerated development. Many of our people around the country have acknowledged in various forms that indeed our country has now arrived at a new dawn, at a new era. This is an era and a new dawn that is pregnant with a lot of opportunities and possibilities, which all of us as leaders of our people must embrace. All of us must capitalize on and find different ways of utilizing this new dawn to advance the interests of our people. The most appropriate way to pay tribute to the founding president of our republic, whose centenary we are celebrating this year, is to translate our intentions in this new dawn into actions. It was President Nelson Mandela himself who addressed the inauguration of the National Council of Traditional Leaders in 1997 in April. During his address, President Mandela had this to say: "And so we meet as descendants of those valiant fighters in a different setting, in a different era, to plan for peace and not for war, to promote unity and not division, to forge a common nationhood and not exclusive privilege," close quotes. These words exemplify not only the abiding spirit that the founding president of our democracy, Nelson Mandela, sought to promote, but also the challenges that still confront us as a nation, yes, that still continue to face us as leaders and as citizens of this great country that we call South Africa. We know exactly what President Nelson Mandela wished for the institution of Ubukhosi. At the installation of Inkosi Patekile Holomisa in Nkanduli in April 1999, President Mandela said, open quotes, "To the extent that your leadership helps improve the lives of the people, to the extent that it fosters the best African culture and tradition, and above all, to the extent that it fosters unity, peace amongst the people, my days will be filled with contentment." Close quotes. And those were the hopeful words of President Nelson Mandela at the installation of Inkosi Holomisa. The improvement of the living conditions of South Africans must remain at the heart of the discussion about the role and the future of traditional leadership. It must remain seized with the task of uniting South Africans and for creating a society that is equal and free from racial and gender prejudice. Honorable members, traditional leadership needs to play a prominent as well as an influential role in the growth of our economy. It must see itself as having a direct role in helping to alleviate the great difficulties that our people are living under. It must address issues of unemployment, but it must also involve itself in the transformation of our society. During the State of the Nation address earlier this month, we outlined some of the key priorities of government for the year. One of these key priorities is land reform. This issue is critical, it is emotive, and it is very sensitive. But it is at the same time an issue that is steeped in the history of our country, but it is also an issue which has brought a great deal of pain and suffering to many of our people. Land dispossession is a defining feature of colonialism and apartheid in South Africa. Land hunger amongst Black South Africans continues to be genuine and pressing. It is urgent, and it is a matter that has to be resolved with great urgency. The time has arrived that we act decisively to resolve this matter. There are those who think that we can leave this matter for later attention. But I can say now that this matter needs to be attended to immediately with the greatest of urgency. It is so because we need to repair the damage that was inflicted upon our people. I was saying to someone the other day that I do not know many Black people who have not been affected by the devastation that was imposed on our people through land dispossession. Almost every household that you can talk to of Black people in this country was affected by land dispossession. So the pain that our people have in their hearts still remains. And our task as leaders, both in government as well as traditional leaders, is to ensure that we repair the damage that was done. as part of the measures to accelerate land redistribution, as we all know, the 54th conference of the governing party, the African National Congress, resolved that where appropriate and justifiable land will be expropriated without compensation, it will happen. The program of land reform must have clear targets as well as time frames and must be guided by sound legal economic principles and must contribute to the country's overall job creation and investment objectives. As I have been saying, in this new era and in this new dawn, we should see the land reform process, the expropriation of land without compensation, as an opportunity rather than as something that is negative. We should take it upon our shoulders to resolve this original sin. We should resolve this problem that was imposed on our people, and in doing so, we should ensure that we use this opportunity to grow our economy. We should use this opportunity to make sure that agricultural production goes higher and higher. And we should use this opportunity to make sure that food security is not compromised. So all in all, this presents us with a great opportunity which we must approach with great skill, with great wisdom, but in a determined way, making sure that we achieve the objectives that are going to advance the interests of our people. By providing more land to more producers for cultivation, and by providing the necessary support, we are laying the foundation for what I would call an agricultural revolution. We are determined to work with traditional leaders to significantly expand agriculture, not only to ensure food security, but also to create jobs on a significant scale and increase the value of our exports. We also want to build partnerships with traditional leaders to tackle the challenge of youth unemployment. On the land issue, the opportunity also arises where we can bring in a number of other partners, financial partners who are willing, some of whom are willing and prepared to come and invest in land alongside ourselves as we move ahead to transform the whole process of land utilization in our country. And this we need to approach carefully and with the wisdom that it requires. Youth unemployment is a matter that must be close to your hearts as traditional leaders, because we all know that the majority of people who are unemployed in our country today are young people. And many of you see them roaming around the villages almost aimlessly. And these are the young people whose capabilities, whose energy we need to harness. These are the young people who we need to create jobs for. We therefore need to create opportunities for all these young people, whether through education, through internships, learnerships, or employment. I would like to see many of the young people who are roaming around the villages being brought in a massive way in agriculture. As we embark on this agricultural revolution, the young people of our country must be the agricultural revolutionaries that we have been looking for. They are the ones who will take our agriculture to a higher level. As traditional leaders, we therefore should be opening opportunities for them. We should ensure that they participate in the agricultural revolution that is unfolding. We will not succeed in developing rural areas if the youngest and most active and most skilled people leave for cities and metros. I would say that your task as traditional leaders is to find means and ways of incentivizing these young people to stay in the rural areas of our country, but not just to stay, but to be actively involved in endeavors that are going to take the economy of our country forward. As it is now, as traditional leaders, you are sitting on a sector of our economy that has shown the most growth. Agriculture in the last 2 quarters of our economy have contributed greater than all other sectors, even greater than mining, even greater than financial services and others. It therefore behoves on you as traditional leaders to realize that you are sitting on a sector that can really inject a lot of energy and life into our economy. Agriculture contributes about 32% for GDP on the whole African continent. But when we look at our own country, it contributes far less than that. Herein lies an opportunity as we move forward with land reform, as we move forward with a greater focus on agriculture. Herein lies an opportunity for all of you who are closer to the land to utilize this opportunity to catapult agriculture to a much higher level and a greater contributor to the economic fortunes of our country. So as they say, you are literally sitting on a gold mine. I call this a great agricultural gold mine as traditional leaders, and we want you to participate in this agricultural revolution to take our country forward and to move South Africa into this new dawn that we've been talking about. What it means is therefore that we must create great opportunities for these young people in agriculture, viable careers for them, but it also means that we must engage them. We must talk to these young people and clearly show them the wonderful opportunities that lie there for them. We need, yes, as government, to improve and properly resource TVET colleges and other training institutions, particularly in rural areas. Some of the old agricultural colleges were closed, and we would like to see those colleges being opened so that they can train our young people. And this is where you as traditional leaders could also play an important role. We need to identify investment opportunities in the rural areas, in small towns, and ensure that we use local suppliers and labor when building infrastructure like roads, dams, energy projects, schools, and clinics. We also need to ensure that there is support that we provide, yes, to small businesses and cooperatives that are not only confined in urban areas, but extend also to those people who are business-oriented in the various parts of our country, but especially in rural areas. The national chairperson of the ANC and I were, as we were flying around the country visiting you, your majesties, we were quite concerned and depressed as we saw a number of areas in our country lying fallow. Many tracts of land in our country we found lying fallow, not having been planted in the summer season. And we wondered to ourselves, why are we leaving the land in our areas, in traditional areas where our people live, to lie fallow without being worked? And as we flew over many of these areas, we saw a great opportunity. And this is precisely the opportunity I'm talking about, that a great revolution can actually commence. And government must come to the assistance, yes, of our people through providing implements, providing tractors, providing seed, providing fertilizer, so that we can get our people in the rural areas back to work. That is what we should be doing. And this is what we would like to see happening. And for it to happen effectively, we are going to need the support and assistance of our traditional leaders in various parts of our country. As indicated in the State of the Nation address, government is committed to, through engagement with all our stakeholders, to engage on a number of issues. We are also going to be commencing engagement on a new version of the mining charter. Our new Minister of Mineral Resources, Mr. Gwede Mantashe, is going to have that as one of his very first tasks, to lead this process of engagement so that the communities that are affected in the mining areas should see themselves benefiting from mining in our country. And many of you, as traditional leaders, come from areas where the land that you oversee has a lot of mineral resources. It is therefore in your interest that as the mining charter is finalized, your views are also represented. It is critical, therefore, that all affected communities are represented, yes, in these engagements, and that the charter, when it is finalized, effectively addresses your needs and the interests that you represent. We trust that traditional leaders in those areas will be an integral part of the process and also facilitate various community role players in the areas where you are in our deliberations as we finalize this. Honorable members, as government, we remain committed to work with this House and all South Africans to restore the dignity and integrity of the institution of royalty in South Africa. In 2017, government hosted the indigenous and traditional leadership in Durban, which came up with a number of resolutions, which were translated into a declaration signed by government and the institution. The Indaba reaffirmed the major role of royal leadership in cooperative governance. It agreed that the values of transparency and accountability should underpin the work that is performed by our traditional leaders. We agreed on the need to establish institutional mechanisms to support dialogue, achieve consensus, and build a social compact between traditional leaders, government, and other stakeholders. This is something that we will be pursuing. Our new Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Dr. Zwelini Mkhize, will be pursuing all this. And fortunately, he was an active participant at that Indaba, and this he will take forward and make sure that the objectives that were set out in the declaration are achieved. Honorable members, I am aware that the Traditional Courts Bill is currently before Parliament. I urge the institution of traditional leadership to participate in all the legislative processes to ensure that the bill is in line with customary practice and serves the interests of justice and the needs of our people. The other pending pieces of legislation, the Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Bill and the Customary Initiation Bill, must be fast-tracked to ensure that they provide an enabling environment for the institution to realize its constitutional mandate. The Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Bill was passed by the National Assembly so that is now done and dusted, and in many ways that is why the Speaker of the National Assembly is also here, so that she can get that applause from you. Now, it is currently with the National Council of Provinces, and the chairperson of the NCOP is also here so that she can get your applause in anticipation. The bill will provide for statutory recognition of Khoisan communities and leaders while making provision for structures that will serve the interests of Khoisan communities. You will remember that before Christmas, we had a demonstration and sit-in at the Union Buildings by some of our Khoisan compatriots. And they had been there for a number of days. And there were a number of calls from around the country that I should go and receive a memorandum from them, because they had been on a hunger strike for more than 19 days. And as we were approaching Christmas, we did not want them to spend Christmas without eating the food that is usually served on Christmas. So we were happy that we took the memorandum and they promptly started to eat. So we are very happy that our Khoisan compatriots did not starve to death. We would never have wanted that to happen. A commission on Khoisan matters will be established to assist government with the recognition process. Considering fatalities, injuries, and mismanagement of the customary practice of initiation, government has drafted the Customary Initiation Bill to regulate this cultural practice. We need to deal decisively with the deaths that take place in the customary initiation schools. I have been appalled to hear that in the past we've had up to 128 young men dying as a result of botched circumcision practices. Parents take children to initiation schools as a rite of passage, but some come back with physical and psychological scars that can remain with them for the rest of their lives. Even more tragic, some of our children do not return at all to their families. We must understand why our interventions to date have not yet yielded the outcomes we seek, and explore better ways to stop these deaths and injuries. Honorable members, we meet here in the immediate aftermath of a great tragedy that has struck our people and the community of Engob. We extend our condolences to the families of those who lost their lives. We call on our traditional leaders and the community of Engobo to stand together to defeat crime, social discord, and the misappropriation of religion. Once again, thank you for the opportunity to address you today. For me, this is the highlight of my work as President of the Republic. As we've been traveling around the country, I can promise you, as we've been meeting with many of you, that is something that has filled us with a great deal of joy. Because as we go around and we interact with you, we get a sense that we are actually touching and feeling the pulse beat of our people. As we talk to you, we get to better understand the aspirations of our people, because as their traditional leaders, those aspirations, those concerns, those hopes are best represented in you as the leaders of our people. So as we go around paying our respects to you and those that we have not yet come around to, we will do so in due time. You honor us by receiving us in your palaces and your areas, and we thank you dearly for that. And as I stand here, I see a number of those who I have met, together with the other leaders of the governing party, and we thank you dearly for opening your arms and your hearts, and by so doing, we also know that you are opening the hearts and the arms of the communities that you lead. And we thank you also for having declared very openly to us that you are prepared to deal with whatever challenges that there may be through dialogue, through collaboration, through working together. Because this is the era of us all as South Africans to work together. And for us, there can be no greater joy than to know that the traditional leaders, the natural leaders of our people, are prepared to work with us. We, the elected leaders, you as the natural and traditional leaders, you are prepared to work with us, and we thank you for this. We will promise that we will continue to engage with you. We will continue to work with you. We will continue to seek to find solutions to whatever problems that may arise. For problems will always arise, but we should never see them as problems, but we should always see them as great opportunities to resolve difficulties. Let us see problems as opportunities rather than difficulties. That I urge you that we should do together. Together, my traditional leaders, my kings and queens, my chiefs, and all of you as my traditional leaders, we are setting South Africa on a new course of development. We are setting our country on a new course of unity and enduring peace. Together, we are placing the needs of our citizens and our people first. This places, yes, a responsibility on us to collaborate more, to talk more with each other, and not to talk against each other. This means that the problems and the concerns that arise, we should also deal with them openly and directly. If there are problems, press that button on speed dial and press that number so that we can talk. As we celebrate the centenary of the birth of Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, let us together reaffirm our shared commitment to serve our people. Let us affirm our shared determination to improve the lives of the poor and the marginalized and to build a united South Africa. Lastly, as we will be coming around to your areas to engage with your people, our people, we would like to take this occasion today as you having given us advance permission to come to your areas. So by your mere presence here, you have signed to say, President and the other leaders who are elected, you have wide permission to come to our areas, and we will always come and pay our respects to your policies. But if we miss coming due to time, we know that you've given us your permission to come and engage with our people. With these few words, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for the respect you are according me to address you in this, your house, the house of our people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable President, for a wonderful speech. Thank you indeed. And I also want to take this opportunity, President, as you have in advance been given permission to come to our areas, that we also applaud you in advance or in anticipation for making sure that the ministers, when we debate your speech, are all here so that we can work together in furthering the call that you've made. I want to invite you, I think, to applaud the President as he brings his ministers on the 1st of March for the debate of his speech. So I wish to invite all of you to the debate of the President's speech on the 1st of March in this chamber, starting at 10. And we expect our guests to be seated from 9 o'clock. I want to make the following announcements. There were members that were not acknowledged, important dignitaries. There's the chairperson of the Lesotho House of Chiefs that is currently in here, Morena Mohale. You acknowledged Morenaga, who is in our midst. The acting queen, Papatla, Wagamujaji of Balobedu, Bayet, who is also amongst us. The queen of Amampondo, Mise, who is also amongst us, Bayet, Advocate Mutimele of the Black Lawyers Association, reps of World Vision, who is Mr. E. Fraser. There are also those that are representing the United Royal Kingships Holdings, Mr. Kruven Chabling and Yamgela. Now, we will be ushered out of this chamber. You are all invited for lunch. Our ushers will assist us in this regard. The procession will now leave the chamber. It will be led by the Sergeant in Arms for a photo session in front of the new wing of the National Assembly building. The procession will be followed by His Majesties, members of the National House of Traditional Leaders, provincial chairs and the executives, the President of Contralesa, Kgoshi Mokoena, and the Executive of Contralesa, our spouses that are amongst us, followed by the rest of us. I plead with you to follow the sequence as we exit in order for us to have a proper photo session. The photo session will be according to the following sequence or order. That is, firstly, the President together with the members of the National House of Traditional Leaders. That would be an exclusive photo of the President with the members of the National House of Traditional Leaders, followed by the President, members of the National House of Traditional Leaders, and our kings and queens that are amongst us, and including the President of Contralesa, followed by the President, members of the National House, spouses, chairpersons and deputy chairpersons of the National House and provincial houses. And that will be all. Let us all follow the sequence. The rest of us, may we please be seated and allow the procession to leave the chamber. The ushers will assist us. We have now come to the end of this session. The House is adjourned till further notice. Thank you.